You're going through Israel topically on Wednesday nights. This is the question. What is your opinion on Israel in the last days timeline? I have more to this. Do you think this is just a war that Jesus said would escalate, but the end is not yet? Or do you think this could be the big one leading to World War III?
Whenever I'm looking at this stuff, I'm looking at Ezekiel 38. And so in Ezekiel chapter 38, you have these nations that come down to fight against Israel. And they're all united in this fight. And effectively, what Ezekiel is describing is World War III. Okay? And so here are the nations. It says in Ezekiel 38:2, Son of man, set your face against Gog and that's a personal name, of the land of Magog, and that is the tribal name, the prince of Rosh, Meshech, and Tubal, and prophesy against him. And when you go through and you look at the etymology of Magog and where these people lived and, the group of people that came from them, these are the Russians. And I've seen people try to naysay that, and it's just not doable. These are the Russians that are being spoken about here. And the tribal name is being used, or the ancestral name is being used, because you can change your geography, but you can't change your ancestors, right? And so, for example, Iran used to be called Persia, and that's what we're going to see in this passage. And so you can change the name, but the people are still there. It's still that same group of people. It talks about Magog being drawn down with a hook in their jaws, and coming with Persia, that's Iran. Ethiopia is what we would call Ethiopia. Libya is what we would call Libya. It's Cush in the old King James are with them. Gomer and all its troops. Gomer is a little bit more vague. It probably has to do with some European nations, Eastern European nations, maybe even the Balkans, possibly Germany. And then the House of Togarmah. Turkey has always been called the House of Togarmah. And so the nations that I'm looking for when I'm looking for the attack that comes down against Israel, and this is what starts off the tribulation period, I believe, are Persia, Ethiopia, Libya, Turkey, and Russia. And so we've got a situation right now where you've got these alliances between Turkey and Iran and Russia. We know that Iran is backing Hamas and Hezbollah, who are the ones who are attacking Israel right now, and Hamas being the one that Israel is specifically going to war with. And so, no, I don't think it's the battle that's going to lead into the tribulation. And obviously, I believe that the rapture is coming before that point. I believe it could turn into that really easily. And so, anytime that I'm seeing this kind of stuff, especially with the threats that are coming from different nations and Iran specifically, you've got some threats coming from Turkey also. And Russia's getting in on this stuff. When I see that kind of stuff, I start looking up. And so Jesus talked about the fact that there were going to be wars and rumors of wars and this kind of stuff taking place in various places leading up to the end. This is the big one. And this one leads into a situation where Israel is delivered from an overwhelming army that comes down to destroy them. And they're delivered by fire and brimstone coming down on those armies, and also coming down on those armies' homelands. And not only that, but Gentile areas. And so that when you get to chapter 39, there's events that take place there where they're burying bones and stuff, and it looks like it's got to be nuclear, NBC, nuclear, biological, chemical. And it looks to me like it's nuclear, and that's World War III. When you start out the book of Revelation, it starts out with 1/4 of the earth being killed in a war. And I believe that this corresponds to that war. So yeah, it could be leading into that. That's what I think.
Okay, so every year you do a prophecy update, and I leave those thinking, man, how many chess pieces can be moved to checkmate before we get out of here? And every year there's like another 2 or 3 moves that I'm like, how could this get any worse?
Right.
And one of those right now, and you're going to be doing one coming up in a couple months, is that America, the situation that we are now, we're the weakest we've ever been. We're inept. We're not inept of leadership, and we're just kind of hanging back. The military guys I talked to said our numbers are so low that if something kicked off, we'd have to have a draft because there's not enough. And it's like you see another piece lying.
My son has been talking with his friends. He's 24, and most of his friends would not be willing to go to war for this president.
And then you have this other thing with the culture of like, look at the demasculinity of our country, and we're going to go to war. It's like, it's not the old America.
Yeah, it's going to get masculine pretty quick.
Or we're all just going to die really quick.
Exactly.
But, it's one of those things where that's a nuanced eschatology piece, but it's there. Yeah. And it wasn't there 2 years ago.
Right.
And so, man, it's just like even the details are lining up. It's amazing.
It's one of those things that actually, when you're going through this passage again, there is a group of nations, including Saudi Arabia for sure, that basically launches a diplomatic protest against this warfare, and it looks like there's a reference in there to the merchants of Tarshish and their young lions, and that may be a reference to Britain and Britain's colonies. Which United States is one of those, and so United States is not involved, and so there's got to be something that takes us out of the picture before you get to end times prophecy, because we are clearly not there. There are people who try to fudge things to try to make us be in prophecy, but it's we're notable by our absence in those prophecies.
Sure.
And so, like you said, there are things that are taking us out. And it's getting more and more intense as time goes on. We got literally half and half country, where half the country basically hates the United States and wants to fundamentally change everything. Which all that means is go away from the Constitution and have some other form of government.
Yeah.
And that's a hatred of the United States.
Along with too many problems to list.
Right. Yep.
So
financial, moral, there's a reason that Muslims hate us, and most of it has to do with morality, and because what they're seeing is what Hollywood puts out. Right. What they're seeing is what politicians put out, and so they don't know about the great mass of Americans and what standards are. And I'm not even saying that most of America even has those standards anymore. But,
right. All right.